School is a scam. Watch this video to the end, and here I'll explain why I think the school system is a scam. I'll explain in detail why I say this. In this day and age, we have technology, right? The phone is more comprehensive than the smartest people in the past with the Library of Alexandria. We have technology in our hands to do anything, to think anything that is artificial intelligence. This has caused many university professors abroad to be confused because when they take students' theses, they realize, oh, this was plagiarized by AI, and they spend even the entire summer just hearing whether the students plagiarized or not. So today, there is already a lot of disruption happening in the field of education. You need to understand that what I always talk about is the school system, not education. Sometimes, many people comment, oh, this is the function of education. Education is not the same as school. Here, I'll try to discuss systematically why I think school is a scam, and I'll provide some of my criticisms and solutions. Before we get into the main issues, it's good to take a step back and look at the history and see what the establishment of schools was like. Schools were basically places to think, places to express creative ideas because the earliest schools recorded in history were Plato's Academy, one of the most famous philosophers in the world. Plato's Academy was established in Athens in 387 BC. Its function was for the upper class. It's also recorded that there were a few women in Plato's class, 2 to be exact. At that time, it was a place to freely express ideas. There were no grades like now, no standardization, just free thinking among these scholars in the past. It was a place for mutual exchange of ideas between students and teachers. Now the question is, when did all this change from schools where free creative thinking was allowed to schools that are like dictatorships? It happened during the Prussian Empire, which is now Germany. When Prussia invaded Poland, they had to think about how to brainwash the Polish people. So, what the Prussians did was create standardized schools because they thought older people were hard to change, their dogma and doctrines were hard to change, but young children were easy to mold. So, they thought about shaping the young children. The Prussian Empire created the first standard school in the world. This school was created in such a way that it was very authoritarian. You had to strictly follow the authority. This system was made by Frederick the Great, the monarch of Prussia in 1740. This school system didn't require children to think intellectually but just to obey authority. They found the right format in 1763 when Frederick the Great met Jules Hecker. They finally collaborated to create the school system. This is the school system that underlies all schools until now. The education was 8 years, mandatory for 8 years, because of their cooperation. From these 8 years, it started having hours, entry hours and exit hours. There were no basic mathematics or calculus taught at all. What was taught was only reading, writing, singing, and religious studies. These were the 4 subjects taught by the Prussian system at that time. And this was extraordinarily effective until the Polish children forgot that they were actually Polish. They forgot their grassroots because their brains were completely washed by the Prussian system. This was incredibly effective to the point where they could even clash with their own families. They became extremely loyal farmers and workers to the Prussian authority. At that time, if you wanted to learn mathematics, you had to be wealthy and pay more for schooling. The primary school did not teach mathematics at all. The effectiveness of the Prussian model was so great that it was copied by a well-known American politician named Horace Mann, who is often referred to as the father of American reform. He saw that the Prussian Empire managed to change young Polish children to the point where they didn't believe they were Polish anymore. He saw this as an efficient and effective system. Horace Mann was an anti-slavery advocate, but interestingly, he standardized education even further. He created a better system than the Prussian Empire. Horace Mann established the Massachusetts Board of Education in 1837 to standardize American education with the Prussian model. The format that Horace Mann found was mandatory 8 years of education with fixed hours of entry and exit. Horace Mann introduced a new system of standardized grading classes. This meant that students of the same age were grouped together, and everyone had to progress together. If you didn't advance, it was embarrassing. They had to progress together. What impact did Horace Mann's system have? It introduced the Industrial Revolution in the 1900s when there was a king named John D. Rockefeller. He was the biggest oil magnate in the world, the first billionaire ever, and the wealthiest person on earth at that time. His wealth was extraordinarily vast compared to other rich people because of his giant company, Standard Oil. Standard Oil's influence can still be seen today, with many energy companies being offshoots of Standard Oil. Notice the key term, Standard Oil. He liked to standardize everything. He wanted standardized workers for his factories. Rockefeller realized there was a concrete flaw in the Prussian model: it created very obedient people who lacked critical thinking. This was dangerous for his business. He needed workers who were smart enough to operate machinery but not smart enough to question the system. Thus, he crafted a system called the factory model education. This system was designed to turn children into factory workers with enough intelligence to operate the machinery but not enough to question the system. This system is still in use today. Critical thinking was suppressed, logical thinking was allowed only to a certain extent, and people were taught to swallow everything their superiors told them. In schools, if you wanted to go to the toilet, you had to raise your hand. If you wanted to enter the classroom, you had to line up. From a young age, I saw the absurdity in this system. My mom told me a story I don't even remember. In kindergarten, when children were told to line up to enter the classroom, I refused. I thought, why do I need to line up to enter the class? This is stupid. I just walked in. School kills your ability to think like that. If you question it, you're wrong. You can't just walk in. But that's what happens in the real world. People who think differently will push through the line and enter the classroom while everyone else is still lining up. Imagine how programmed society is by this factory model. Rockefeller poured so much money into the Rockefeller Foundation to work on this school system. If you don't believe me, you can research it yourself. He created a standardized system to turn people into factory workers. People are so programmed that they can't even distinguish between school and education. They think I'm saying people shouldn't be educated. That's not the case at all. There's a huge difference between education and the school system. Critics often miss the point. They see school as an unquestionable truth, like a religion. When I say school is a scam, they get angry because it's like attacking their religion. People don't question why they have to follow these rules. In the past, they taught that inflation is good because it encourages people to spend. Who says that? Study the origin of money and the chaos inflation caused in the past when using beads or necklaces for trading. Europeans manipulated these systems, creating problems. Inflation is not necessarily a good thing. Your money is being stolen, but you can't see that because that's what's taught in school. The same applies to history. The history taught in schools is written to avoid controversy. You won't find bloody events in history books, it's all sunshine and rainbows. If you want to learn the real history, you need to research beyond what's written in school books. In this video, I'm talking to those who still believe in critical thinking and creativity. I'll outline several fundamental flaws in the education system and provide solutions. 1. Standardization. The one-size-fits-all approach doesn't cater to individual skill sets. If student A can't do subject B, they're labeled as stupid. This demotivates students with different skill sets. For example, in high school, I was already learning about accounting and financial statements because I was an investor interested in Warren Buffett. But when I attended school, they taught basic accounting, and I felt it was stupid. If I didn't excel in biology, I was considered stupid. The solution is adaptive learning. Create a system that doesn't standardize but caters to each student's abilities. Don't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. 2. Focus on theory, not practice. Schools focus too much on theory, making students stupid in real-life situations. The solution is to integrate life skills into the curriculum. Collaborate with local business owners and communities to teach digital literacy, financial literacy, and other practical skills. Many people don't understand basic concepts like taxes or financial agreements because they aren't taught in school. This makes them susceptible to mistakes in real life. 3. Killing creativity and critical thinking. Standardized testing suppresses creativity and critical thinking. Teachers and professors are pressured to pass students, leading to a system where students are graded on compliance rather than understanding. The solution is to separate teaching from testing. Teachers should teach, and independent bodies should test. This prevents the conflict of interest where teachers pass students to meet performance metrics. 4. Outdated curriculum. The curriculum is outdated. By the time students graduate, the world has changed. The solution is to integrate technology into education and keep the curriculum up to date with the latest developments. What's the point of studying something that becomes obsolete upon graduation? If you fix these 4 issues, I won't call the school a scam anymore. I've outlined the problems and solutions clearly. It's up to you whether to apply them.